Welcome back to our series on economic analysis of agency law. I'm Professor Seth C. Oranburg, and next we're tackling an important question. What do you do when people don't do what they're supposed to do? That's not just a rhetorical question. It's at the heart of agency law. How do you, as a principal, ensure your agent acts in your best interest? And what tools are available to help you bridge the gap between delegation and trust? Think about this. You just hired a contractor to remodel your kitchen. They said the job would take 2 weeks. But it's been 2 months, and the only thing they've done is demolish your cabinets and make your kitchen unusable. What do you do? Or maybe you manage a team at work, and one of your employees keeps missing deadlines. What do you do? In both cases, you're the principal, the contractor employee is your agent, and the problem is the same. You're relying on someone else to get something done and they're not delivering. So what do you do? Well, in Hodge, the mayor's solution to this problem was to hire watchers and then watchers and watchers. The idea was that if everyone's being watched, they'll stay on task. We can call this monitoring. But as we saw in the last episode, the approach quickly spiraled into inefficiency. The mayor didn't listen to this episode and learn that there are monitoring costs. It's a lesson we need to keep in mind as we explore the key tools principals use to reduce agency costs. And those 3 tools are monitoring, bonding, and disciplining. Let's start with monitoring, which might be the most obvious tool. Monitoring is about keeping an eye on your agent to make sure they're doing their job. It's like checking in on that contractor to see if they're actually working, or reviewing your employees' progress on a project. The mayor of Hodge used monitoring too, hiring watchers to supervise the bee watcher. The hope is that if someone is always watching, the bee watcher would do their job. In the real world, monitoring shows up everywhere. Employers use performance reviews, project management software, and time tracking tools to monitor employees. With work from home, there's even tools that track how often you're wiggling your mouse. Shareholders monitor corporate executives through financial reports, audits, and board oversight. And while monitoring can help reduce agency costs, it's not without drawbacks. Monitoring is expensive. It takes time, money, and resources to do it effectively. You need to hire someone to do the monitoring, and it's rarely perfect. Just ask someone who's tried to track the progress of a contractor who somehow seems to always be on lunch break. Now let's talk about bonding. If monitoring is about keeping an eye on agents, bonding is about giving them a reason to care about your job. Bonding aligns the agent's interests with the principal's by creating incentives. Think of it as a motivational tool. And the mayor might have forgotten about this one. Because in Hodge, bonding might look like the mayor offering the bee watcher a bonus, let's say a jar of honey for every day the bee works harder. The idea is simple. If the agent benefits when the principal benefits, the agent becomes more motivated to act in the principal's best interest. In modern business, bonding often takes the form of performance-based compensation. Executives might receive bonuses, stock options, or profit-sharing plans tied to the company's success. These incentives align the agent's financial interests with those of the principal, the shareholders. But bonding has its limits. Remember Enron? The executives there had plenty of stock-based incentives. But instead of building real value for their company, they manipulated earnings to inflate the stock price. Then they cashed out before the company collapsed, leaving shareholders to bear the losses. It's a good reminder that bonding only works when incentives are tied to genuine performance metrics, not metrics that can be gamed. Finally, we have disciplining. Disciplining is about creating consequences for agents who fail to act in the principal's best interest. Back in Hodge, disciplining might mean firing the bee watcher if the bee doesn't work harder. It's a way to hold agents accountable and show that poor performance won't be tolerated. In the corporate world, disciplining often involves lawsuits or regulatory action. Take the case of Aronson v. Lewis. In Aronson, shareholders filed a lawsuit challenging a board's decision to approve a questionable transaction. The shareholders argued that directors had breached their fiduciary duties. The court's decision in that case emphasized the importance of accountability and the role of courts in enforcing it. But disciplining has its limits too. If you've ever been in a lawsuit, you know that lawsuits can be expensive and time-consuming. And not every breach of duty is clear-cut. There's risk involved. You might not win. And sometimes disciplining can even backfire. It discourages agents from taking risks, and sometimes businesses need risks. So how do these tools work together? Let's return to hodgepodge for another moment. Imagine the mayor combines all three approaches. The mayor monitors the bee watcher to ensure the bee is on task, and offers a jar of honey as an incentive, so every time the bee is more productive, the bee watcher gets a jar of honey, and makes it clear that if the bee doesn't work harder, that bee watcher is going to get axed. This three-pronged approach applies oversight, monitoring, motivation, bonding, and accountability, disciplining. But even then, it's not foolproof. The mayor still has to deal with inefficiencies. If you're going through watchers at a pretty fast clip because that bee just isn't working any harder, you have a lot of training costs. And you still have to watch them, and you're giving away a bunch of honey. There's always a risk that someone might game the system too. Look, in the real world, business face similar trade-offs. Monitoring is expensive. Bonding can be gamed, and disciplining is often reactive, not proactive. Principals have to decide which tools to use and when to use them effectively. And as we saw with Enron, Wells Fargo, and countless other examples, getting it wrong has serious consequences. So why does this matter? Because these tools aren't just for managing bees or employees. They're for managing relationships. Whether you're running a business, managing a team, or simply trying to hold someone accountable, monitoring, bonding, and disciplining are tools you'll use. And understanding their strengths and weaknesses will help you use them better. Next time, we'll dive deeper into one of the most important concepts in agency law, authority. We'll explore how it's granted, how it's abused, and what happens when agents act outside their authority. And yes, we'll check back in with hodgepodge to see how the mayor is managing the chaos. Thank you for joining me in this episode. I'm Professor Seth C. Oranburg, and I look forward to continuing the journey with you in episode 3.